Appreciate that. All right, Andrew, do you want to bring Rachel? You want to get Rachel in here?
Yeah, I'll grab her.
All right. Sounds good. Unless you had notes on the conversation that just occurred. Let's go to Twitch while we're waiting for Rachel. Guys, go to twitch.tv/whatever. Drop us a follow and a Prime sub. That's twitch.tv/whatever. There it is, boys. Guys, there's 1,500 watching on Twitch. I think we got about, 7,000 on YouTube. If you guys can do me a big favor, open up another tab, go to twitch.tv/whatever. Drop us a follow and a Prime sub if you have one. If you have Amazon Prime, you can link it to your Twitch. It's a quick, free, easy way to support the show every single month. Yo, guys, thank you so much for the Prime. Step Bro, thank you for the Prime. Ghost, I'm assuming this is our Discord homie. Thank you for the Prime. Good job on the aging forward stuff. Spoof, Old School RuneScape, thank you for the Prime. Mucker, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Scuzzle Butt, thank you for the Prime. Hurleys, thank you for the Prime. Thank you for all the follows, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I think I'm gonna be. I've been on the fence if I'm gonna stream. I haven't really been playing too much, but I got to like level 14 on World of Warcraft. Me and Andrew, we're gonna be doing a guild. We have a guild. You can check it out. Discord.gg/whatever. We're looking for parsers. We're looking for sweat. We're looking for sweats. We're looking for pumpers, boys. No casual shit. Thunder, thank you for the gifted sub. Donovan Martinez, thank you for the Prime. I appreciate swagging on them. Thank you for the Prime. Grandpa Live, thank you for the Prime. Mavericks, thank you for the Prime. Donovan, thank you for the follow. Reese, thank you for the Prime. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Run a Mucker, thank you for the tier 1. Hunter J. Griffin, thank you for the Prime. Batongo, thank you for the Prime. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Mavs, thank you for the. I forgot if I thanked you. Mav for the Prime, appreciate it. Oh, there she is in the flesh. We got Rachel Wilson in the building. You wanted to talk about education. Did you have you had something on the education thing that I think was related?
It was just like related to it's a public school education.
Just one sec, really quick. Can AB Check, thank you for the gifted 20 memberships. Really appreciate it. What was your thing?
Just like public school education versus homeschooling education.
Okay. Well, I'll let Rachel take over for a little bit and let you guys have the conversation. So take it away, Rachel.
Hello, ladies. Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me on. Well, since you had something, I'll just let you go first with what you wanted to say, and I'll just respond.
Oh, me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, didn't you say you had something about homeschool versus public schooling?
I just wanted to hear your viewpoint on if you think that homeschooling education is better or public school education is better, and why so.
Well, it's kind of funny you asked, because I have been homeschooling the kids for many years now. I did a little guest spot on Tucker Carlson's show when he was still on Fox to talk about the big spike in homeschooling during the pandemic. Statistically, homeschooled students do better overall, like in pretty much every metric compared to public school students. I think that there's a lot of big problems with public schooling now. Not that it was ever great. If you look into the history of public schooling and why it was started and who started it, it was never really about learning or making people smarter or preparing them for adult life. It was more so about preparing good little cogs in the wheel who were going to follow, the values of the state, whatever the government wanted kids to do. And it was based on the Prussian school system, which was to make good soldiers for Prussia. So I think Andrew's really spot on when he says school is not for smart people. I think that's correct. I think there's lots of ways to socialize kids, and especially nowadays, there's homeschooling co-ops, homeschooling groups. There's more ways to connect and socialize than ever before. And like Andrew said, our kids can do all the sports and the extracurricular activities. They can go to tech center, vocational center, all that kind of stuff. So it really just gives you the freedom. And we have 5 kids, so each kid has their own strengths, their own weaknesses, their own personality, their own way they prefer to learn. One of the biggest weaknesses in public school is that you kind of have to cater to the lowest common denominator. So if you're like a little smarter, you might have a hard time. If you're somebody who has a different style of learning that's not really adaptable to public school, you're going to have a hard time. and especially boys. Public school is really catered to girls. It's catered to girls doing stuff like sitting still, getting in line. My cat's freaking out over there. Andy's trying to he's trying to handle him. But yeah, so I much prefer homeschooling for a lot of reasons. We can get as much done in a day at homeschool in about 2 hours as the kids would learn in 7 hours of a regular school day. And I would say they retain a lot more of it, and there's no need for like extra homework when you get home, things like that. So I'm a huge homeschooling advocate, and it's worked great for our family. I know that not every parent may be great at homeschooling, but not every parent's a great parent. There's always going to be some people who don't do well regardless of what we're talking about. So yeah, kind of where I would go with it.
I absolutely love your comment. I think it kind of like bothered me initially because I didn't really like the generalization that homeschooling's best for everyone. I think there are definitely like special cases, like just like you said, like super like geniuses or like prodigies, like they should be homeschooled and develop those talents and knowledge. But I think I went to public school, and then I also went to like a small private school as well for high school, and I just found so much, or I feel like I learned so much in public schools and private schools. Not only kind of like, obviously I think if I was homeschooled I may have known more. Oh,
sorry. He's over here wrestling the cat.
Oh,
sorry.
no worries. I feel like maybe that would have gotten me like academically like further, but I feel that the social benefits, like the socialization, was enhanced, I guess, in a way in public schooling, because you're going to school every day and you're forced to socialize. So I feel like that grew my socialization skills, whereas I feel that like homeschooling, yes, you can do activities like extracurriculars, but you're not seeing the same people every day, because like soccer practice is like 3 times a week. But
I think there's a few things you're not thinking about. Like, for example, most children's first exposure to violence is in a public school. Public schools are more prone to violence, child SA incidents happening than even private schools, churches, pretty much any other place. Schools are pretty dangerous on average now, and then you have all of the indoctrination with certain gender ideologies. Like, at least when I'm homeschooling my child, I know they're not going to come back a different gender, right? They're gonna still be a girl if they were a girl that morning. I'm not gonna put them on the bus and they're gonna come back a boy. So there's that. And the other thing is that we've only had compulsory public education for about a century. All of human history prior to that, nobody had public school. Do you think that people weren't socialized? Of course they were. And one of the problems when we were talking about women in the workplace and working moms earlier, we used to have community. Everywhere throughout all of history. Children were raised by their mothers, but not just their mothers. All the women were at home with the kids. So mom had her sisters and her cousins and her neighbors and her friends who were all also raising their children. And so it was kind of done all together. Everybody wasn't isolated. You didn't have little boy number 1 in high school, little daughter number 2 in junior high, and then mommy goes to work in her building and daddy goes to work in his building, and everybody's separated and atomized, and then we have to try to come back together for 2 hours at the end of the day before we all go to bed. The socialization thing was never a problem. It's only a problem now because, the parents aren't home, the family's not around, all the women are in cubicles. So everything has changed so much in a century that it is tough to talk about, because all of you especially grew up in this modern world with the internet and with working parents and strong independent boss moms who told you that the most important thing to do was be ambitious and have a career, right? But I want to ask you guys a question. What do you think about this? So do you guys think that the feminists who came before you, or the strong independent women, your grandmas and your great grandmas, did they fight for the right to be career women and go to college? Like, is that something that you think they had to fight for that was worth fighting for? Maybe we'll just start over here and chair one and go around. Do you think that it was a good thing that women, did they fight for their right to work and be educated and be independent? And was that a good thing?
Yes, I think they did. And I think it was a good thing. Yes.
Okay. What about number 2?
I agree. Yes, they did fight for it because they didn't get it in the past, and it is a good thing.
Okay, number 3.
I agree.
Same. Okay.
My family definitely did fight. I'm from Thailand, and a lot of jobs are like either like you're a farmer or you work for the government. So to them, school is very important, whether it's homeschooling or private school or public school. And I have a different viewpoint from my family completely, because I don't think that people who are can be successful and intelligent should always be in school. I have family members who never finished high school, even college, and they are thriving, making a lot of money because they have learned like actual life skills, things that you are not taught when you're in school.
That's a good point. Okay, what about number 5?
I think my family did. I'd say overall it's a good thing, but I do think that some people didn't necessarily, they may have fought too for it, but maybe they weren't fighting for themselves, because I can recognize that plenty of people don't want to have to go do that, but nowadays you're expected to. So yeah. I think it's definitely a mixture.
Okay. What about you?
I think it's a mixture as well, but I think some women did fight to have, a career.
Okay.
I would say yes. In India, it's at least back then or when my mom grew up, it wasn't always a guarantee you get an education. There's arranged marriage. You're expected to have children. She always wanted what's best for me, and she's always been pushing me to get an education, build a life for myself. So I agreed that I think the fight was for good, and it is still good now. It's still applicable now.
Wait, was the question whether women fought for our education or not, or if it was a good thing?
Do you think that women had to fight for the right to be able to have careers, and do you think that was good?
I guess historically women did fight. I'm kind of torn on the good or bad part, because I do believe in equal opportunity, but I think it was overall a detriment to society that women were sent to work.
Okay, I'm going to follow that up with a second question. So if women fought for the right to work and have careers and be able to be independent, have their own money and have an education, do you think that it's a privilege for a woman to be able to stay home with her children? Like if I said, oh, well, I stay home with my kids and my husband works, would you say, well, not all women have that privilege? So I'm asking, is it a privilege to be a stay-at-home mom, or are you oppressed if you're a stay-at-home mom?
I think people would look at it both ways. Personally, I think it is a privilege because, as we were talking about earlier, like she also said just now, most women were forced to go to work, which they didn't want to. They wanted to stay home. So in that case, it would be a privilege, but then for other cases, it would be oppression. But I would think it was a privilege.
Okay, number 2, what do you think?
I agree. I think it is a privilege for a woman to stay at home, but I also think it depends on the woman, like whether or not you want to, like if the man is able to be the one providing.
Okay. What about 3?
I think if your husband makes enough to where you guys can do that, I think that's a pretty good thing. I think it's a privilege.
Okay. What about number 4?
I think if your husband is wealthy enough to support you and your entire family, and you can just stay at home, take care of your kids, like not really have to worry about making money yourself in your career, then that is a privilege.
Okay.
I think overall, I think it's a privilege. At the same time, I know that if I had a child, while I'd want to be able to stay home with them, and especially their more formative years, I also would need some sort of other work beyond just my kid, because I wouldn't want to just feel like I lost myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 6.
Yeah, I think...
Sorry, guys, I don't have your names here, so I'm just going by your chair number.
It always like depends on the case, but I think it's a privilege in some cases, as mentioned before.
Yes, I think it's a privilege to stay at home. I think it's a wonderful thing to be stay-at-home mom, housewife. If your husband can support it, then yeah.
A privilege.
Okay, so I want you guys to think about the fact that when we went around with both those questions, everybody said, yes, women had to fight for the right to be able to get an education and have a career. And then everyone also said, but if you can stay home with your children, you are privileged. How could that be the case? How could it be both? How could it be that you had to fight, women had to fight and blaze a trail and a path to be able to work outside the home and have their own money and careers, but also if you can stay home with your children, that you're privileged? Because wouldn't they only have been fighting for the right to have careers and education if they were oppressed before when they were staying at home? By the way, I want to mention something else. In all my research, in every culture around the world, there has never been any law I'm aware of where women were expressly forbidden from working. So if you have this idea that women weren't allowed to work or women weren't allowed to be educated, there may be some countries like India where perhaps girls can't go to school, or parts of Africa, but I'm mainly talking about the Western world in America where we all are. Women have always been allowed to work, but before feminism and before the Industrial Revolution, it didn't make sense. Why? Because if you had the average woman in the year 1800 had 7 children, 7 births, probably a few of them might not make it to adulthood, but if you had 7 births, why on earth would you want a career outside the house? I mean, why would you, what are you gonna do, pay daycare for 7 kids? And here's the other thing. You guys are talking about women should have a career if they're gonna be moms, and we can just pay daycare or have family come in. And it's like, you realize that that's really stupid. And here's why, because how does it make sense for me to say, you know what, I'm a mom, but I deserve a career, and I'm ambitious, and I have career goals, and I need to be able to work. So I'm gonna hire this other woman to come in and do the mothering for 8 or 9 hours a day while I'm gone. Well, what about that woman? She doesn't deserve a career? All you're doing is shifting the stuff over, right? So earlier somebody said, well, why can't the dad stay home? I want to know what you guys think about that. Do you guys think it's the same if dad stays home? Do you think that it's just as good if dad's staying home? If everybody did that, it'd be fine.
Can we address the entire question, or would you like us
Sure.
to? Okay.
Whatever you guys want to say, we can just kind of open it up.
So I kind of see I see what you're saying. It's kind of like we look like we want to have our cake and eat it too kind of concept. But it's more so, as I would say I think it is, that we fight to go to work so that we have money to pay bills, we have money to put food on the table and do things like that. That's why we get our jobs. But then we would also like to be at home and stay with our children and stuff like that. So I see it in your way, but then I also see it in mine. And your other question was, I'm sorry?
Well, do you think that it's the same if dad stays home? Because that was something that came up earlier in the panel. Because I don't remember which one of you said it to Andrew, but you were like, well, why can't the dad just stay home? Why does it have to be me? Right? And yeah, why should it be mom that stays home, do you think?
Well, I think personally, the dad can stay home as well. I think either as long as there's a parent present, it's, great. Both ways.
So what do you think would happen if society-wide, let's say that, women are strong and they're rising, they're getting more college degrees than men are today, which, by the way, that's not very new. Women have had higher literacy rates and higher high school graduation rates in the United States since we started tracking those numbers in 1790. And I can get to why later, but what if we shifted everything and suddenly the next generation, 80% of the children are raised by the dads. The dads stay home and the moms go to work. Do you think that that would work for society, like on a society-wide level? I see number 2 shaking her head no. Why do you think that might not work?
Because I believe that if your kid is raised from a mother or a father, it's different. There's some stuff that a mother can't provide that a father can provide, but there's also a lot of stuff that a father can't provide that a mother can.
True, that's true, but it's even simpler than that. Do you know what the top 20 most important and dangerous jobs are? Like if you look at job statistics, the top 20 jobs that we need the most, that are most important to keeping this whole infrastructure running. So you guys are all sitting here in a studio, there's lights, there's camera, it's a concrete building, you're up on the, you're up in this building with windows and there's electricity, we have internet, right? All this infrastructure is built by men. So all of the stuff you need to keep society running, logging, engineering, concrete mixing and laying, all forms of construction, power line work, cell phone towers, everything infrastructure related, those are the most dangerous, the most difficult, and the most important jobs. And they are occupied by anywhere from 80 to 99% men. Like if you look at concrete work, it's 99.8% men. Women don't lay concrete. Do you think that society would keep going if we had all the concrete layers at home raising the kids? What if all of the men who run the telecommunications, your cell phone, your Wi-Fi, your high-speed internet, what if all the men who build those systems, fix them when they go down, what if they were all at home raising babies? What if all of the power linemen, the guys who go out, like we just had this massive bunch of hurricanes in the southeast and knocked out the power to all of Appalachia and all of Florida for a couple of weeks. All the people who go in there and rebuild that and rescue people from the floods and rebuild everything, that's all men. So what do you think would happen if we had an economy where all the women went to work and the men stayed home? Do you know what the top 20 jobs occupied by women are? They're the same top 20 jobs occupied by women 100 years ago. So if you look at the top 20 most female jobs in 1920 and the top 20 most female jobs in 2020, they're almost exactly the same. All we did was swap HR and farm work. So more women did like small-time farm work back then, and more of them do HR now. But other than that, women are like early childhood educators, teachers, nurses, bookkeeping, retail workers, food service industry workers, things like that. So men and women are not interchangeable. Moms and dads are not interchangeable. So this idea that like, oh, I can be a strong, independent boss babe and I'll just outsource the child care, or dad can just stay home. You could argue that that's fine on some individual levels, but if we make this the like society-wide expectation, everything that allows you girls to think that you are strong, independent boss babes who can do it on your own crumbles. It disappears. It turns to dust. There's no more Wi-Fi. There's no more electricity. Kiss your air conditioning goodbye. There's nobody to fix your car when it breaks. You don't have gasoline because there's no oil rig workers, getting the gas that you use to drive your car. So basically this is all kind of Delulu land stuff. This idea that like, oh, we can just do whatever we want. And it just depends on my personal preference and, it'll all be fine. So, I mean, a lot of what Andrew tries to get you guys to think about is what you want on a personal level is not the only question here. It's not the only moral question. It's not the only thing to consider. There's a greater good. Society has to work together as a whole. So I know I just threw a lot at you, but does anybody have anything they want to jump in on?
With me specifically, my mom actually had to hide her pregnancy because in Thailand, when you are found out that you are having a baby or has a baby, you have to stop working completely and you're expected to take care of the child, and then later your expected child is supposed to help support your family.
Okay. I mean, I'm not sure if I would say that's good or bad. There are some like ethical issues or concerns I would have when we're discussing like kind of Christian societies versus non-Christian societies, and that's like a whole other topic. But in general, I would say that pregnant women, nursing mothers, mothers of young children should be at home with those children. If you look at the statistics in 1940, only about 6% of American women who had children under 5 worked outside the home. Mm-hmm. Now that number is like 58%. It's like super high. Most little babies and little children's moms spend most of their day at the office. And as a mother, 95% of all the time you'll ever spend with your child is gone by the time they turn 18. You don't ever get those years back. You don't ever get to do that over. You don't ever get that time. So to me, you're taking a precious, finite gift that you have. You're taking this limited time of your life, a short time in your life that you get to spend raising your own children, and you're giving it away to somebody else, some $11, $12 an hour daycare worker, because you think being at the office is more important. And I understand completely that we're brainwashed and propagandized to think that. I was told all the time, from the time I was little, you have to go to college, you have to have a career, you have to have your own money, because if you don't, what? What do they say will happen to you? If you don't have your own money, if you don't have your own job, what's going to happen? You'll get trapped. A man could abuse you. What if he leaves you? What if he dies? What if he cheats? But nobody ever asks, wait, what if I spend all of my years going to college to be a surgeon, right? I want to be a neurosurgeon, like a really important job. I'm shooting for the stars. Nobody ever says, well, wait a second, what if you get in an accident and your arm gets broken and you can't do surgery? Or what if you get arthritis and you can't use the scalpel anymore? Like, what if your eyesight goes bad and you can no longer perform surgery? Nobody fearmongers women about all the things that can go wrong when you base your whole life around your career. They only fearmonger women about what could go wrong if they base their life around being a wife and mother. And I just think you guys probably don't ever get a chance to hear anybody say that to you, so I wanted the chance to say it.
I actually really appreciate hearing a different perspective, and I feel like you're very well knowledge, so it's very interesting what you have to say. So thank you. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad that you guys wanted to listen. But if anybody has an objection or a counter argument, or you're listening to me and you're like, well, wait a minute, but what about this, Rachel, or what about that? I'm happy to hear it if you have any objections or other thoughts about that.
I think that it is perfectly fine. I agree with your viewpoint. You should be there in your child's formative years. I also think that I want a choice that where maybe I don't know if I see a future with having kids in it, and if I want to be that neurosurgeon, if I want to be an anesthesiologist, whatever, that I can do that without having to worry about someone saying you're wasting all your childbearing years, or you want to be a stay-at-home wife. Like I said again, my mom's a stay-at-home mom. I love her. I think being a stay-at-home mom's amazing, but I also think that a lot of women, their mothers weren't allowed to have the choice to do what they want or be who they wanted because they were raising them. And I think that if they, maybe they don't want kids and they do want to pursue their career goals, that they should be free too.
Okay, so you guys were talking earlier about South Korea and how it has the lowest birth rate on planet Earth right now, which it does. It's 1.6 child per woman. But did you know that the whole world, except for a handful of African countries and Israel, are well below replacement and have been for a long time? If you guys follow Elon Musk on Twitter, he's probably the most famous person who's talked a lot about the birth rate collapse and what it could mean. And so basically in the year 2024, we've got planet-wide logistics that have pretty much wiped out hunger. The only places where there's still hunger, there's extenuating circumstances, reasons why that's still a problem. But in all the developed nations, nobody has starved to death in the United States for many decades. It's not a thing. And the reason that's the case is because we had this big population boom during the Industrial Revolution, another baby boom after World War II, and with all of the time and human capital and brilliance of people, problem solving, and just more people in general, we've been able to eradicate a lot of problems we used to have with things like hunger, getting resources where they need to go. If we experience population collapse, which we are, if it keeps going where it's going now, we're going to start having problems, and we're already seeing that. So supply chains, we're already seeing some supply chain failures because there's simply not enough labor. We don't have enough people. It's one of the reasons there's so much illegal immigration. But even the places where those illegal immigrants were coming from, their populations are now well below replacement rates. So we're running out of people to even import. Places like Japan and Canada don't have enough young people to support the elderly populations. There's just not enough young people to, pay into the social security system or work at nursing homes or work in senior health care to take care of the elderly. So again, we can say it's really nice, oh, I want the chance to follow my dream of being a neurosurgeon. And I'm sure there's always going to be some women who do that. But let me ask, how many of the women here have a college degree? Everybody raise your hand if you got a degree. There's, oh, a lot of you. Okay, what's your degree in? Just go around and just tell me real quick what your degree is in.
Start with you. I have my associates in social and behavioral sciences.
Okay, and next?
Just associates.
Okay, in what? What field?
In like mathematical.
Okay, next. Number 5, you have a?
Psychology, but I don't really intend to use my degree. I just wanted to get it.
Yeah, psychology is probably the most oversaturated and most female field at the moment, so it's tough to get a good paying job. And then next, what's yours?
I'm currently obtaining a BA in Psych and Brain.
Okay, and next?
Health science.
Health sciences, okay, next?
Poli-sci and econ.
Okay. Are all of you, so one of you said you're not intending to work in the field. Are the rest of you all intending to have careers in the field you're getting a degree in? Okay. And did you, probably, most of you said yes. Did you notice that it's usually the same stuff? Like I was saying, it's like healthcare, it's psychology, it's like behavioral stuff. Most of you aren't going to be like structural engineers. Most of you aren't going to be like building life-saving medical devices or, you know, any of those like super essential jobs. I mean, nursing, there's some things you could argue are pretty essential, but men could do those jobs too. So why would it not be smarter to have all of you ladies here, if we had raised you different, if we had raised you to say, being a virtuous woman who is a good mother and a good wife and a good caretaker and a good member of the community. You know, you're doing all the community stuff women used to do, like organizing community functions and church things and programs for kids and just all those support roles that women used to do. Would it be a better world if we were raising all of you girls to do that instead of raising you to start your OnlyFans, go to college, earn a degree? By the way, I bet a lot of you have some college debt. The average woman has like $40,000 in college debt after she graduates. So now you're having to go into your 20s with a whole bunch of debt and a degree that you may or may not be able to find a job in, that you may or may not like the job, right? And you're forgoing all of the childbearing years to chase that stuff. Do you think that that's like a net positive? Do you think that's a smart, like if you were king of the nation or queen of the nation, would that be how you'd want to organize things?
Can I say, I just wanted to say that I get why you're asking this line of question. I just don't see it being asked to men a lot. Like, why did you choose to be a neurosurgeon? Why don't you just, you know, do this line of work instead? Why do you choose to be ambitious? Like, I feel like it's so directed at women. Like, why did you choose to, like, leave your virtuous woman duties and pursue a career? But I really don't see that asked to men, and I understand why. You know, I understand there's traditional duties assigned to men and women, but you know, societies change, and I don't understand why we still have to go through this line of questioning.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because the current state of things is completely unsustainable. People ask me all the time, what do you think is going to happen? How do we battle feminism? How do we battle the problems in modernity that we have with falling birth rates and broken families, high divorce rates, and people not even bothering to get married anymore, and nobody having babies? What should we do, Rach? How do we fix this? And I'm like, it's a self-correcting problem, because this situation is totally unsustainable. The future, if everybody turns out, if all the young women are raised like you girls and they have your mentality, and this is not a dig at any one of you individually, because I understand exactly the world you were raised in, the propaganda you were raised with, everything from pop music to movies to every TV show you've ever watched tells you that you need to be a strong, independent woman and have a career and follow your dreams and all that stuff. I get it. But the future, if everybody follows your path, is there is no future. There's no world, because there's no people, there's nobody to keep the lights on, and humanity dies out. And the reason why, when you say, why do we have to endure this line of questioning, it's because only one of us can have the babies. The men can't have the babies. They can't gestate a child for 9 months and birth it and nurse it and raise it. And And we need the men to be making the world livable for the only people who can do that, which is women. So all of the other jobs, all the careers we've talked about, those careers exist to support one occupation, one purpose, which is being a mother. The world around you, the reason it's built is so that future generations can be born. That's the only reason for it. What good is a world full of technology and robots and Wi-Fi and electricity if no one's going to be born into it, if we're having like one child per woman?